G'day folks. AKK have recently released a new video transmitter, the FX2 Ultimate. Now this is a 1.2 watt or 1200 milliwatt video transmitter that will really lend itself to long range flying. Now I saw these appear in advertising or on Facebook or something, and I thought, that could be interesting. I might get one of those and just have a look. I've recently started to build myself a cruiser quad. It's not quite a long range, but you never know. It might end up being a long range, and so this would lend itself well, if in fact it does do what I think it's going to do. I won't go into too many details. There's other reviews out there more in depth than mine, but I'll give you the specs, a brief overview of the specs. As I say, it's a 1.2 watt or 1200 milliwatt output transmitter. It also does 25 milliwatt, 200 milliwatt, 500 milliwatt, and it has a pit mode. The connector is an MMCX, not a UFL. That's a big plus in my book. The MMCX is far more robust, and because it can rotate and twist, you get a much better placement option in your quad. The FX2 comes in two different options. You've got a stackable and a non-stackable. I got the stackable. They're a low heat output transmitter. Even on the bench at 1200 milliwatts, these things do not get very hot. By comparison, my Tramp running at 500 milliwatts puts out that much heat you can't touch it, and in actual fact it melts hot glue that I've put on to keep the UFL connector from coming off. I think even at 200 milliwatts it gets fairly toasty, but the FX2 at 1200 it gets warm but not hot. To test this thing, I took it to my two regular flying locations. One is an old kiwi fruit orchard. It's now an open area that my buddies and I regularly fly at. Now the advantage of testing here is that down the perimeters there are in fact still shelter belts, and they really do a good job of blocking video. So what you'll see in the video is that I flew down the length, and I turned around just as I was about to begin losing video, and this was the ideal opportunity to see how well this thing performed. Now what I discovered was that the increase in video power doesn't necessarily equate to an increase in penetration. Yes, I got better performance overall from 1200 or 1500 milliwatts on A1. I'll put a card up above to link to the video that shows that, but it didn't punch through the shelter belt, and so you'd have to go to a much lower frequency video system to do that. Now the other place that I flew was at a local racecourse. There's an area with a block of trees. The testing wasn't quite as good as it could have been. We're heading into winter now, and so those trees are losing their leaves. During summer, when they're fully leafed up, it's quite challenging. It's a tricky place to fly, because if you go down behind the wrong tree, if you disappear behind the wrong tree, your video can go. It didn't really happen so much when I did my testing there, but you'll see the difference between the different power levels that I used and the two different video transmitters that I used as well. Here's a quick look at the old kiwi fruit orchard that I flew. Towards the centre of the screen you'll see there's a small dot. This is a barbecue table. This is where we sit when we're flying. And from here I flew north along the perimeter, turned around and flew back down the fence, flew past myself, flew south towards the big tree, did a turnaround, flew back up and flew back out and around. In the second series of photos, this is where I flew at the racecourse. From here I flew west, down the side of the road, along the back of the trees by the racetrack, around towards the road, turned around at the trees, came back past myself. I then did another lap, went along past the racecourse, and then I kind of hovered near the back of these trees, which I figured would give me the most likely breakup. And then I flew back towards myself and landed. So let's have a look at the videos now and actually have a look at how the transmitter fared in real life. So as I take off here, you'll see that in the top left I've got an EWRF video transmitter. This is in my acro quad. This is the one that I fly the most, and this is set to 500 milliwatts. Then next to that I've got the AKK set to 500. Below that to the left, the AKK is set to 1.2, and then the AKK on A1, which in theory gives me 1.5 watts. As I turn around the EWRF, I lose complete video, and I actually have to fly up quite high here to get my video back. You'll see the others actually do reasonably well, especially the AKKs on A1. Now, coming past myself again and heading south towards the big tree, when I get down here and do my turnaround, you'll see that the module swaps from one receiver to the other, and I get a little bit of breakup there. Then I head north again for my second lap, and head along the perimeter. Do my turnaround, and you'll see that the AKK seems to handle this fairly well, especially at the higher outputs. Not fantastic, not great penetration, but certainly an improvement from 500 to 1200 and or 1500 milliwatts. Next up, flights at the Racecourse. So at the Racecourse, I took off from the same spot each time. I flew alongside the road, down beside these trees, which always gives me trouble. Get to this turnaround point here, and during summer, video would be gone by this stage. Now, I tried to fly on the outside of this control tower, but it was a really windy day, and I couldn't make it each time. So down here, I'd go around the back, and video generally gets pretty crappy down here. So I was actually quite surprised at how well things went. Coming back along through under these trees, this is a great place to fly. I really do like flying here. Back past myself, back behind these trees, along the back, down along here by the road, my turning point, by these willows, and again trying to go on the outside of this tower, failing there, and down to this turnaround point. Now, I decided that I'd just kind of hover here for a bit, because behind these trees and with all those other trees between me and the quad, that would give me the worst reception. And then back home under that tree there, Jono's tree we call it, and back here to land at my feet. So I managed to do that successfully, apart from that one. Got stuck in that tree and managed to hang there for a wee bit until I figured out how to get it down. It was just out of reach. I hate those. So there we go. After all that, what do I think? Well, for a long-range quad, something that is going to be flown relatively line of sight, great transmitter. You're going to get excellent video. If you're looking for something to give you more penetration when you're flying around trees, this isn't the video transmitter, because 5.8 band just doesn't have the penetration. You need to go a much lower frequency. How it would fly around concrete structures, I really don't know. My experience is that concrete structures, metal structures, you get better signal overall than you do around trees. Whether the higher output of this video transmitter is going to get you better reception around those objects, I really couldn't say. My conclusion is that this is something that you would use on a long-range setup, not a freestyle setup where you're flying through dense trees and you need better penetration. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Any comments, leave them below and I will try and reply. Thanks.